All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're going to completely transform the way you think about workplace writing. We often take the emails we send, the reports we draft, and the presentations we build totally for granted. Just part of the daily grind, right? But honestly, mastering the art of technical communication is arguably the single most critical skill for your professional survival and advancement. So today, we are going to unpack the absolute foundations of this essential practice. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with point one. You are a technical writer. Then we'll move to two, defining technical communication. After that, we hit three, the high stakes of grammar, break down point four, six characteristics of success, and finally, wrap up with five, making your documents useful. Okay, jumping straight into section one. You are a technical writer. So I want to challenge a preconceived notion right out of the gate here. Be honest with me. When you hear the phrase technical writing, you probably picture a really niche profession, don't you? You might imagine someone sitting in a quiet cubicle somewhere drafting these incredibly dry, complex instruction manuals for heavy machinery, or maybe writing out dense software documentation. And because of that stereotype, it's super easy to just assume that technical communication is, well, someone else's job. But is it? Actually, the reality is that you are already engaging in technical communication every single day through seemingly mundane, everyday tasks. Think about it. If you've ever checked the calories on a cereal box to make a dietary choice, or texted your boss a quick project update, followed the screen prompts to withdraw cash from an ATM, or even emailed a professor to ask for a recommendation, you have actively participated in technical and professional communication. You aren't just consuming it, you are already a creator of it. That brings us right to section two, defining technical communication. So how do the pros actually define this? Well, the Society for Technical Communication, or STC, defines the field pretty broadly. They call it the process of sharing complex information to a specific audience to accomplish a goal or task in an accurate, useful, and clear manner. So see, it's not just heavy machinery manuals. It encompasses letters, emails, business proposals, websites, blogs, and instructional documentation. Basically, anytime you are using technology to communicate specialized topics to help a reader solve a problem, you are operating right in the heart of technical communication. And get this, it's not just some modern corporate buzzword. This field's built upon a really long historical timeline. Its roots literally stretch all the way back to ancient Greece with the study of rhetoric. Fast forward a bit, and the discipline really accelerated during World War I. That was driven by a massive explosion in the need for technology-based documentation across the military and manufacturing sectors. But here is the crazy part. Even though it's been absolutely vital for a century, it was only officially recognized as a distinct profession by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics in 2009. Moving right along to section three, the high stakes of grammar. So, what does this all mean for you right now? Why should you care? Well, because doing this poorly has some severe real-world consequences. According to a survey by the Workforce Solutions Group at St. Louis Community College, employers are actively looking at the current talent pool, and they are highly concerned. They are seeing a pretty harsh reality out there. Large numbers of college graduates applying for jobs simply lack essential communication and interpersonal skills. Look, the modern workplace runs on documentation. If you cannot clearly state your ideas in writing, your technical skills in all other areas are going to be completely overshadowed. Just to give you an idea of how steep the penalty for poor writing can be, listen to this. Kyle Wiens wrote an article in the Harvard Business Review declaring a strict zero-tolerance policy for bad grammar. He literally wrote, "If you scatter commas into a sentence with all the discrimination of a shotgun, you might make it to the foyer before we politely escort you from the building." Wow, right? A single grammatical error can destroy your credibility in an instant. It makes you appear unprofessional, and yes, it can literally cost you a job opportunity. All right, let's pivot to the solution in section four, 6 characteristics of success. Now that we know what's at stake, let's look at the core traits that separate a sloppy, amateur email from true professional technical communication. Experts in the field highlight 6 distinct characteristics that every effective workplace document absolutely must possess. First up, it's got to be audience-focused, meaning it's written for a very specific reader. Second, rhetorical and problem-oriented. It has to actually compel action and help the user solve a problem. Third, it needs to be professional, reflecting the values of your organization. Fourth is design-centered, using visuals and proper spacing so it's easy to digest. Fifth, research-oriented, meaning you're relying on solid facts. And finally, number 6, it must be ethical, respecting legal and moral obligations like copyright and liability. Actually, to emphasize that professional characteristic I just mentioned, consider this. Clear writing isn't just a corporate preference. The United States government literally mandated it by law. Yeah, no kidding. On October 13th, 2010, the Plain Writing Act was signed into law. It was explicitly designed to promote clear, concise, and well-organized government communication. Why? Because when communication is messy, the public just can't use it. Clear design and plain language aren't optional. They are organizational necessities. So, beyond those 6 primary characteristics, as a technical writer, you also have to adopt these foundational standards for every single document you produce. Your writing must be honest, clear, accurate, complete, concise, attractive, and correct. Think about it this way. Your audience has zero patience for unnecessary clutter. And just like you wouldn't want to eat a 5-star gourmet meal served on a filthy plate, your reader is not going to be moved to action by a document that is poorly designed or riddled with inaccuracies. It just destroys organizational trust. Which leads us perfectly into our final section, Section 5, Making Your Documents Useful. To make sure your next document meets these incredibly high standards of usability, it has to pass 3 levels of cognitive processing. It's kind of like a golden triad. First, it must be legible. This is all about physical accessibility. Is the font large enough? Are you using the right typeface for a screen versus a printed piece of paper? Next, it must be readable. This is about your sentence complexity. Are the words easily understood by your specific audience without being overly dense or, unintentionally condescending? And finally, it must be comprehensible. Can the reader actually use the document to achieve their goal? This requires familiar terminology, brevity, and smart visuals. So remember, legible for the eye, readable for the brain, and comprehensible for action. And hey, the really good news is that you don't have to just guess if you've succeeded at hitting those standards. We have some absolutely incredible tools at our disposal today. You can use built-in software tools like Microsoft Word's Readability Checker just to get a quick baseline score. You can rely on a peer review from a trusted colleague to see if your message lands the way you intended. Or you can even leverage AI assistants like ChatGPT or Claude to analyze your document's readability and comprehension for a specifically defined audience all before you ever hit send. Well, we have definitely covered a lot of ground today in this explainer, from the ancient Greek origins of technical communication all the way to the modern AI tools we use to perfect it. We've seen that good writing isn't just some nice-to-have frill. It is literally the engine of public and economic life. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought to consider the very next time you sit down at your keyboard. Will your next workplace email clearly compel action, or will it just be added to the endless corporate clutter? The choice and the design is entirely up to you.